Hello friends, welcome to DNT Law classes. So we give topic wise class on various subjects, and the topic of discussion for our today's class is the history of trade union movement, and that is covered under Labor Law 1. So let's get started. So before moving on to the history of trade union movement, we should have a small idea on what industrial revolution is. So we can say that industrial revolution is characterized by the use of steam power, and it is the rapid growth of factories and the mass production of manufactured goods. And where did it happen? Or we can say that it started in the 18th century in the Great Britain, and the term industrial revolution was coined by the great English economic historian Arnold Toynbee. And we could also say that industrial revolution started with James Hargreaves spinning jenny and James Watt's steam engine in 1774. So we got a brief idea on what industrial revolution is. Let's move on to the effect of industrial revolution. We can say that industrial revolution had a huge impact on the society. We can see that there were wider distribution of wealth and increased international trade, etc. And by the late 1700s, people started coming from their countryside because of the lack of adequate pay to cities, and because of that cities grew. It became very overpopulated, that it became dirty, and associated health issues also came. And because of the machines, as we already know, because of the setting up of factories, because of machines, production also got increased. It became very cheap, and because of that, factory owners became extremely rich. So these were some of the effects of industrial revolution. And another important aspect of the setting of factories was that because of the need of money, and the situation was hugely manipulated by the industrialist, and the workers or the laborers had to work 14 to 16 hours a week in a not so friendly working condition. Even women and children had to work under such an atrocious situation. So these are some of the positives as well as negatives of industrial revolution. And as a result, laborers started resorting to trade unions to improve their working conditions. And now let's start about the history of trade union. So, to begin with, what is a trade union? So, trade union is a voluntary organization that is set up by employers as well as employees. And as we have already looked on, the situation back in 18th century was highly misused by the industrialist, and the workers didn't know their rights, and the industrialist and the employers hugely benefited from that situation, and hence trade union was formed. Initially they were reluctant to raise their voice, because they thought that if they did, they would lose their jobs, and they would be replaced by someone else. But later on they understood that when they join into associations, it would be easier for them to raise their needs, and hence trade union was formed. During the pre-independent period also, in India, many factories were set up, and hence the need for the trade union was very high. And two important personalities of philanthropists are responsible for bringing of trade union movement in India, and they are Sri Sarobji Shabji Bengali and Sri N.M. Lokhande, and they were responsible for bringing up of trade union movement in India. And after independence, the employer trade union has merged in the form of Chamber of Commerce as well as Industrial Association to protect the interest of the employer class. And now let's see some of the earliest trade unions, and the first one being Bombay Mill Association, formed in the year 1890, the Amalgamated Society of Railway Servants of India and Burma, 1987, Printers Union of Calcutta, 1908, Bombay Postal Union, 1907, and the first uh, organized trade union was formed in the year 1918, and that was Madras Labour Union. So, next we are moving on to a very important case law, that is the Buckingham Mill case. So, the Buckingham Mill case uh, is responsible for the formation of Trade Union Act in India. In this case, the Madras High Court granted injunction against the Madras Labour Union strike for inducing the workers to break their contract and for refusing to join their work. So, even if it was for a legitimate cause, the protesters had to face prosecution because of the breach of their contract, and hence Sri N.M. Joshi felt the need of bringing up of a legislation that protects the right of such an legitimate trade union practice, and hence he moved a resolution for recommending the government to adopt a legislation for the protection of trade union movements and trade unions, and hence the Trade Union Act of 1926 was passed. So the act summarizes all important provisions with regard to the registration of trade unions, the guidelines for workers as well as industrialists, and also it gives a legal and corporate status to the registered trade unions. And next we can move on to the post-independent era. So after independence, the then government has brought in 5-year plans for securing the social as well as economic welfare of the society, and for that each 5-year plan had its own objectives and goals, and each 5-year plan focused on a particular aspect, as in a particular 5-year plan focuses on agriculture, and then they focus on industrial aspects, the trade relations, etc. So the Planning Commission of India is responsible for formulating the 5-year plans. So the commission would access the current state of the economy and identify the gray areas that has to be covered, and they set targets for the next 5 years, and the implementation of the 5-year plan is carried out through various government departments and agencies at national as well as state levels. And now we can see about the various 5-year plans. So the first 5-year plan was started in the year 1951, soon after independence. So it targeted agricultural as well as industrial production, and it focused on the formulation of trade union to create a cordial relationship, to have a cordial environment between the employer and employee, not only for the benefit of the employee but also for the overall development of the society. And the second and third 5-year plan also focused on the importance of the introduction of trade unions, and it also emphasized on industrialization, and it said that a strong movement was necessary for safeguarding the interest of labor and realizing the targets of production. And the fourth and fifth 5-year plan has its own importance. That is, a chapter on labor policy was added in the fourth 5-year plan, and a code of discipline of industries of 1962 was evolved by the employers and employee for facilitating the free growth of trade union. So this is all about the industrial revolution, the effect of industrial revolution, and the history of trade union movement. I hope you all understood. If you have any further queries, you can pin in the comment section. Thank you.